Hey guys, what's shaking? Well, I thought I would throw my hat into the ring on making a video on repairing this Ford EATC, this electronic climate control issue that I believe this F-150 has. This is a 2002 F-150, and so some of this video will be specific to it, but this EATC repair, these things are used in a lot of different vehicles, Explorers and F-150s, 250s, probably vans, cars, Grand Marquis, Crown Vic, things like that. So first thing we got to do is we got to get this thing out. So what I've done is, I had to think where my camera was and go get it, but I just popped this fascia out here, and it's real easy to get out. It just has clip here, clip there, clips on the bottom, and so you're just going to work your fingernails in at one edge of it and just kind of pop it out. And what we got to do now is we're going to have to unplug this airbag connector back there. So I'm going to set you up here, and hopefully I can do this without knocking the camera over. But show you what's going on. I'll try to keep you in frame as best possible. But this clip right here is kind of, it's up against the back of this, and you have to just push it in and should be able to pull it out. The clip is like right here on this one, so this is probably not real easy to do even with two hands. So we'll try and see what we can do here. There we go. That's out. So you set this to the side, set it someplace where you're not going to sit on it, because you don't want to break that. Okay, so next thing we'll need to do, some steps say you need to remove the radio, but I'm going to try to do this without doing that. But I might have to anyway. If we got to remove the radio, then we're going to use some nails to pull it out. Because I don't have, you're supposed to have like a U-shaped little tool that goes in each side of this, but you can do it other ways. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just I'm going to take out these 4 screws. Looks like they're Torx, or you can also use a socket on them. I'll use the Torx first, so let me go do that. I'll be right back. Okay then, got my Torx driver here, and I would tell you what size this is, but these are such cheap torque drivers, they don't even have the size stamped in them. So I don't know. I guess get a selection and bring it out, like what I did. Let's just run these out. This may also give me a chance to deal with this jammed up cup holder too while I'm in here. So you're supposed to disconnect the battery while you're working on this, but I'm not, because this thing doesn't get any power while it's turned off. So now the question will be if this thing will come out far enough. It's got an electrical connector or two on the back of it. It's also got a vacuum connector that we do not need to break on the back of it. So okay then, come on, knock you guys over there. Okay, I need to get my light. Oh, and let me just go ahead and tell you in the middle of this, if any of you nutcases, and you know who you are, feel like you're going to have to leave a comment on this video because of some other videos I've made, don't bother. It's going to be removed promptly, so don't even waste your time. So let me go get a flashlight. Okay, let's look back in the back of this and see what we see. Well, this flashlight ain't too good, is it? Okay, you see back in there, that's your vacuum connector. And that's those multicolored tubes. Like I said, we can't pull on that too hard, so what has to happen, evidently that has a 10 mil connection, a couple 10 millimeter nuts on the back of that, holding that to the back of this apparatus. So I'm not going to put you guys through the torture of watching me work on that, so I'm going to just do that off camera and get that loosened up, and I'll show you the aftermath. So I'll see you in that step. Okay, I decided that it's going to be better off to go ahead and remove this radio, because I just can't get enough room around in there to get back to the back of that unit. So this radio has to come out, and this is just a simple standard Ford radio that's got the 4 holes in it. So here's a lesson: if you're ever dealing with one of these radios, hopefully you're just taking it out to replace it or work on it and you're not trying to steal it. But if you ever want to get one of these things out, don't start yanking on it, just try to pry it out. You have to use the holes provided, and what I use on this is I use a 2-inch roofing nail. I've got a whole box in the house, so it's not ideal and they don't work quite as well as that tool. But you can see the way this thing works. It's got a, show it to you, it's got a clip on the side of it, so you have to push those in, and then that you kind of have to mess with it and kind of pull it to the outside edge, and it works on those clips right there. So I can kind of demonstrate that. That's how that works. So if you don't use this correct procedure to remove one of these radios, you're just going to bust the front right off of it. I've seen that done in the junkyard before. So that's why those holes are there. That's why you use that. So, you know, I know who in the world wants to go buy a tool that you're going to use once or twice. So if you want to just use these nails, they should work fine. Like I said, they don't work as perfectly as a tool, but then you can just pull the radio right out. So I'm going to pull this radio out and disconnect it. I don't think this thing has any kind of code on it. If it does, I don't know what it is. So anyway, let me do that, get it unplugged, and we'll attack the back of that temperature control panel. Here's what you got left when you take the radio out. You got an antenna plug right here, just slips out, and then you got these 2 plugs, and they are different. They're the same, but they're different. And all you do to get those out, you just got a tab on the bottom of them, right down there where my thumbnail is. Just squeeze it, they slide right out. So that will give us room to get back in here to take these vacuum lines off, because I am not going to risk breaking vacuum lines, because you talk about something hard to fix. These things go all the way through this dashboard and out to the firewall, and you just do not want to go there. So take my advice on doing this and take the radio out. So okay, let's work on those nasty old vacuum lines. Alrighty then, progress is being made here in the cab of this F-150, and that's a good thing. So we've got this far enough along that I've got this vacuum connector here. Let me put a light on it for you so you see exactly what we're dealing with. That thing, and that mounts right here on the back of this, goes right in there, and you see that thing sticking up there, and you see that thing sticking up there. Down here in the south we call those stobs, but you can call it whatever you want. These little nuts, there's one on each one of these that hold that vacuum connector onto the back of this. So you just take a 10mm socket here, like this one's taped up because it's cracked and you can't put much force on it. I need to get a new one, but I was actually able just to get this in here, and with it in there, of course, reaching over the back of this, and undo these by hand. You can't put much force on them, just enough to snug them or take them off. So I did that. It got all the whole apparatus out here where I can hopefully easily disconnect that. It looks to me like there's just going to be another couple plugs. So I'm thinking, like RP could say, what I'm thinking of doing is I'm thinking about just going ahead and doing this right on camera. Please, somebody, please send RP the correct turn signal housing for his wife's car. Would you, somebody please do that, so he doesn't have to saw up. So he doesn't have to saw up any more good original German hella turn signal housings. you got to remember, bless RPIC's heart, when you're watching RPIC's videos, that whatever the common, proper way to fix a Volkswagen is going to be, he's going to do the opposite. So he said, I knew that'd make you upset. He did something. I think it was that turn signal. So there we go. There's one of them. So when I saw the soup cans on top of the fresh air vents, nah, I ain't saying nothing. I'm not saying anything, but you're gonna overheat it. You can burn the engine up in it. That's why they put the seals on it. That's why they put the fresh air hoses on it. What I know. Alright guys, there's the unit out. Or as you folks up in Canada like to say, out. It's out. And this is all there is to it. It's electro vacuum unit. So next up we'll go in the house and we're in frame. We'll go in the house and we'll deal with this thing on our own terms. That looks strange right there. That looks like that's bowed up for some reason, but it's probably got hot. Let's see. Oh, look at this. On the top of this, I was thinking this thing's got a couple bulbs out over here, and it says right stamped on the top of this, see owner's manual for bulb replacement information. Now, how did they know people are going to be taking this out? What are the chances that an owner would be taking this whole entire unit out to be seeing that? You ever heard the term planned obsolescence? What that means is that they give things that make up a vehicle, they give it a planned lifespan. So they probably only expected this unit to work for, you know, to get out of warranty, and then after that, who cares? So anyway, this is a known problem, and so we're going to deal with that. But it was easy to get this out, so I hope this has helped you some, and we'll take a look inside what we do for the repairs. Now, there's several YouTube videos on this subject that are probably better than the ones I can make, and there's always going to be somebody that's going to say that I could have made this better. But anyway, refer to those, and you probably get a lot better instructions. But all it's going to be is simply a matter of taking this apart and replacing the O-rings that are in the solenoids in this thing. So that's going to be the repair. And by the way, I mentioned earlier in the video about people leaving random ugly comments. If you guys are wondering why that's going on, that's because that I posted that video a month or so ago about semi-trucks, and I guess truck drivers, it seems to me like they're an angry lot to begin with, so they didn't like me posting that video, so they've been trying to beat me down to get me to take that video down, and I'm not going to do it, because I will not be beat down. I will not give up, and I will not have somebody force me to kiss their ass or kiss their feet. I don't care what kind of job they do. I don't care if they're a trucker, bus driver, garbage truck driver. I don't care if they cut grass. I don't care if they're the vice president. I don't care. This is America. We live in a free country. I can put up what I want to put up if it's within YouTube guidelines. And if a group of people get mad about it, they'll just have to get mad about it and get over it, because tough titty. So like I said, you know, if you feel the urge that your level of character, and that's exactly what it is, your level of character will not allow you to post a constructive comment. If you've got to post one that's just a tell-off that calls me or somebody else a name, you can just forget it, because you're going to go away. I'm not going to deal with it. I don't care today, next month, next year. I'm not going to deal with it. You know, this is not some little kid that you're dealing with that can be beat down and say, oh, I just take that video down. It makes me people mad. I'm not doing that. I'll have a sex change and have my wangy do cut off before I'll do that. So you can just You know what the word FO means, what that stands for? That's what you can do if you don't like it. Tough. Too bad. Too bad. So, don't leave your nasty comments. The rest of you guys, I'm always glad for you to watch. You're cool people. So, sorry for the little side rant there. Okay, let's get in the house and get this thing taken apart and see what's going on. Okay, now we're here in the lab. And next thing we got to do is we got to take off these 2 screws right here, 2 bolts. So I'm using just a regular nut driver with a 1/4 inch socket on it. Just run these out. Okay, there's your lid. And okay, let me see here. Now, this whole entire this is your assembly that has the solenoids. You got 4 solenoids in here, and that's what we have to access and deal with. So this has to come out some way from the rest of this thing. So I'm going to just do this, kind of carefully pull up on this. I think the bolts that were in there held it to the back of this. They go right here and right here, so that's how that worked. And then, okay, if you look in here, you see how that wire harness is going down. There's a connector right on this motherboard here, so we're going to have to detach this connector down here carefully, and that will allow us to get the there we go. That just unplugged. Can you see that? See what I did? And that goes right there. Just pull up straight on it. Okay, and that's going to allow us to work on these solenoids here. And this assembly doesn't come any more apart than this. So what you have to do is, I thought I had a pointer here. I don't think I do on me. I'm using a screwdriver. Sorry about that. But when you look in here, you look at these solenoids. Each of these solenoids has an end that's got a little piece of foam on it, and there's 2 of these pieces of metal that are bent over. So we're going to have to carefully take a small pick or something like that, or a pair of needle nose, and bend. You work on one of these at a time. Just do one at a time. Just bend these out, and then this inner part is going to, the whole thing, the plunger and everything should come out. Unless somebody lied to us. Hopefully not. But anyway, it should slide out, and the O-ring that we're going to deal with is on that plunger in there. Get that? It's on that plunger that's in there. So let me go ahead and this thing is constructed a little bit differently from the instructions that I found on the internet to do this with. It was talking about there's screws in here, and this one doesn't have that, so that's okay. Doesn't matter really. So, but anyway, let me get going on that, and I'll do one and get it loose and make sure that I don't end up screwing it up somehow. But be careful with this piece of foam here, because if you know about auto theory, you know that this runs off vacuum, so vacuum is pulled through from the engine, from the Venturi principle. So that means that if there's any leakage past that, which there probably will be around those O-rings, when they're dried out like these probably are, there's a lot of leakage. But you need think about that you're drawing in air from the atmosphere, which can contain dust and other things like abrasives like that. So you want to have some way to filter that little minute amount of air. That's what those pieces of foam are for. So if you end up boogering those up somehow, you probably need to try to get another piece of foam and put in there, keep that from just being open like that. So let me get working on this, and I'll turn you back on whenever I find something interesting to show you here. So, see you then. Okay, here's what I'm doing. To start out with, I'm going to drill out these spot welds. I've already started doing a couple of them with my drill. So we're going to do that and see what we can get to be able to be loosened up and bent out of the way and all that good crap like that. So hopefully I got you far enough out there you can see what's going on. Okay, surgery is well underway on this unrepairable Ford EATC chassis, as I'll call it. This is the part that goes in the housing, as I've detailed in another video ahead of this one. These don't come apart like the ones that everybody chose to make the videos and the internet postings about. The easy ones. These are the hard ones because they're made a totally different way. They have the 4 solenoids on them and the wiring and the vacuum connector, and that's about the end of the similarities. Of course, they're repaired the same way, but what we have to do is we have to, since these are drilled, since these are spot welded together down here at the ends, in other words, the bracket, instead of the bracket, the assembly being bolted to the lid, it just sits in here. They cheaped out on it, or they either this was the first design that they welded together, or the screwed on version was the first design. I don't know, but as everybody says, that like a 2006, 7, and 8, and Grand Marquis has a screwed on version. So I don't know, and you can't find one of those around here. So we got to fix what we have. So what I've done is I took my drill. There it is right there with a small bit on the end of it. There that is right there. And I have went in from the bottom and I've drilled out these spot welds right here. So I've not done these yet. This is what it looks like before I've even touched it. This is the back side before I've even touched this in. I'm doing one side at a time. And this is after. And what I did was I took, after I broke through those spot welds, I took my small flat tip screwdriver, mini screwdriver, and then my needle nose, and I carefully bent these tabs out away from the spot welds. And what's going to have to happen now you can do this at your own risk. I don't even know if this is going to work. I guess if I put this video up, it worked, but we want to be careful that we do not pull the solenoids off the vacuum tree here, what I call the vacuum tree, because you've got a plunger and you've got all this going together down here. We just don't want to do that. So what I want to do now is, I know that I've got the upper ends. If we peek through there at my table, you can see that that's totally disconnected. The only thing that's holding these solenoids in is these little tabs down at the bottom. So I was looking here and I noticed that if you look right down on the bottom side where that black plastic is, you see there's a part that's coming through that metal. You turn that over and look at it on the other side of it, and if you get some light on this, if you can see in there, that metal arm there more or less just slides down over that plastic protrusion right there. It's kind of like a groove made into the plastic. So that arm is going to have to like go this way. It's going to have to be rotated up and out, and then I'm going to bend the whole damn thing out of my way. I'm just going to bend it totally over. And like I said, you do this at your own risk. I mean, I have nothing to lose. This one doesn't work, so it's either fix this one or break this one. So I'll do my best. So when I go ahead into that step, I'll show you what happened, and we'll see if that's going to work for us. Okay, I got this whole thing pulled away from this plastic. So I'm just in the process now. I'm going to try to bend this thing and keep you in frame here. Get my carburetor out of the way. I was using that to prop up for my drill. But I'm going to attempt to just go ahead and bend this thing totally out of the way. So let's see what happens. There you go. Now we can get into our solenoids. And I've already got one of these tabs kind of prepared. I was trying to work on this earlier. So let me just go ahead and not fixable my ass. I don't ever let stuff like this beat me if possible. Okay, so you want to be careful when you're pulling on this. Go ahead and hold these solenoids down with your other hand there and just kind of start working on this and seeing if this plunger assembly is going to come out. There it is, and there's your spring under it, and there's your O-ring. Booyah! Pee on you, Ford. You tried to beat us and you couldn't. Never give up. Now, will this thing bend back together? I don't know. Hope so. But what we're going to do now is just a standard thing. You have to, these are the O-rings, and I hope this camera is good enough to pick this up, but somebody said before you need to use a pointer, so I'll use a pointer this time. These are the O-rings in question, and they dry out and they don't seal anymore. They get a square surface on them from sliding up and down, and this is the one that replaces this. And it's just simply a matter of going in, pulling the old one off, and installing this one. This is just a regular, I guess, rubber Viton seal, just like this one was. And I know there's been a lot of people on and on and on about you need to use silicone O-rings. I'm not. I'll just fix it again if I have to. But the thing you need to understand is, for sure on this, is you need to put some sort of lubricant on this O-ring. So follow me very carefully here. If you need to replay this several times, be sure to. If this is just a standard O-ring, rubber O-ring like this one, you can use silicone grease on it. Like dielectric is a variation of silicone grease. Just use a little bit in here to keep this thing lubricated so it doesn't run dry and damage or wear it out. But if you have a silicone, if you're going to be over the top with it and use a silicone type of grease on this thing, or I mean O-ring on this thing, then do not use a silicone type of grease. If you have rubber O-ring, use silicone grease. If you have a silicone O-ring, use some other kind of grease. I don't know what to recommend to you, but because think about it, if you use this regular grease with rubber, it's going to eat it. If you use silicone grease with silicone rubber, it's going to eat it. So you want to use the opposite. So don't mess that step up. If you have to think about this or do some more research, do all you need to, but don't mess that up, because you'll be going in there and doing this again. And if you have to go in and do heavy surgery on this like I had to on this piece of shit, then you don't want to do it over. So all I'm going to do is there's plenty of instructions regarding this step of this. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this old O-ring off here. I'll have to pick it off because it's on there pretty good. But get you a little small dental pick or something like that and just carefully work this thing off and put the new one on. Clean it a little bit, put the new one on, roll the new one on there, and put it all back together. And you know, I'm going to make a video segment of when I get this thing back together. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to just JB weld this when I get it back in place, because it's got 4 little spots right there on each end. They're going to have to be doctored up to keep it together. So, but we'll deal with that when the time comes, and you'll see that through the magic of video editing. You'll see that in a minute. So let me get busy with this. See ya. Well, this is going to conclude this repair on this unrepairable Ford EATC climate control module. I've simply bent everything back to bent the structure back in where it will fit back together, where those little arms will go over those little pegs I showed you about. And then I've turned to my old friend, the JB Weld, and I've JB welded these back on here. Now, I know this is not a pretty repair, but we're not going for looks on this because this thing's going to be in that case, and you know, this will work. Once it cures, it's going to be as good as it was pretty much. And although you won't be able to repair it a second time if it fails, you know, you saved yourself by repairing this presumed to be unrepairable because of the way it's made, this unit. Then you've probably saved yourself a chunk of cash, because I already had the JB Weld on hand and the tools, and I bought those 4 O-rings. These are the old ones, by the way. These are the 007. You can get these at the parts store for about 89 cents a piece. You get a better price on them if you buy them in bulk, but how many times are you going to need 100 O-rings? So these were pretty dry. They cracked and they were flat, and some of them were more like plastic. So that's probably the whole entire deal, like all of them. So anyway, this saved you a chunk of cash. I think to buy one of these that's been remanufactured is about somewhere around $195, cheap as I've seen it. You can get a used one, but if you get another used one, which you're going to find in all these trucks and these cars, the older ones like this one, you're going to run into the same deal. You're going to have to take it apart. Now, what I suggest you doing is trying to track down one of those that's like all the tutorials and all the videos that are up say. Just take it off the lid. I've never seen one, but if you can find one, grab it, because those are the ones you want, and they're much more easy to be reworked than these were. Like I said, the whole cost on this was under $4 to repair the thing, but it's just a real pain to get this drilled out and all that. But this is how you're going to fix this. So I hope this has helped any of you that are dealing with this. If you got into this and you realize that this is not what they said on the internet, that the internet version doesn't look like your version, that's the deal here. So I'll put this out in the sun and let this JB Weld cure up real good before I put it all back together, and I think it will cure us. So anyway, thanks for watching, and glad to do this video, because that kind of upset me when I got into this and realized that, you know, and I guess I've said this about 3, 4, 5 times now, but you know, the folks, I know they're trying to help, but they kind of cherry picked, you know, the easy one to do. And as I said in another video, I've seen this exact same kind of unit that's made together like this with no screws in it in F-150s and Expeditions and Navigators and Vans and Explorers and Grand Marquis and Continentals, and I think I said Explorers, but if I didn't, I was supposed to. But anyway, I've seen it in every one of them from 97 on up through 02 or 3. So likelihood you're going to find this one in there. So this is how you fix it. So if you got any questions, please ask. I'll be glad to help you guys. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you down the road somewhere. Later. Well, okie dokie then, I think I would call this repair a success. We have our air blowing back out of our vents. That's cool. That's what it should be. If we get alright, comes out of the defroster. So it goes back to our vent here. Got that going off again. So there you go, guys. Wasn't as easy as it should have been, but we got it done. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.